First, we're going to start with our cute chokers. First, you'll need some 2mm craft foam. Fold that in half and draw out your pattern. Now go ahead and cut out that design. You'll have a completed choker pattern. Go ahead and trace that onto some red fabric. I'm using some stretchy jersey material that you can get at your local fabric store, and you're going to trace that larger than your actual pattern of the choker because we're going to fold the fabric over the 2mm craft foam. Cut that out. Snip the point, and you're going to hot glue all the edges until everything is secure. You can trim any excess fabric that might be hanging over with your scissors. Now it's time for gems. I'm just using some that I got from the local craft supply store. I decided to go with a more elaborate look, but you can stick to something that's a more Katara themed if you want to be more canon. And now to attach everything together, we're going to use some scrap fabric. Just fold it into some little strips and hot glue them onto the sides. Now look at our completed choker. It's time to make her arm cuffs. Wrap your hand in some plastic wrap, or you can use a plastic bag. Trim the edges and mold the plastic wrap to the shape of her arm cuffs. Wrap that in some Scotch tape, and this is going to create a pattern for her arm jewelry. You cut out that pattern and now you can trace it onto some 2mm craft foam. You can also use 5mm, that would give you a sturdier arm cuff, but I'm just using what I have on hand because I don't want to waste any foam. You're gonna cut that out, and now you have the basic shape of your arm cuffs. Katara's arm cuffs have these ridges along the sides of them, so you're going to score the 2mm craft foam with a blade, and then we're going to heat that up with a heat gun. You don't want to cut too far into the foam because that can cause it to rip, and this will widen the cuts that you made and give you a deeper ridge. Now cut 2 strips using some 5mm craft foam and attach those with some hot glue onto your arm cuff patterns. And there you go, you already have your basic arm cuff. Now it's time to prime. I'm using some white school glue, but you can feel free to use Mod Podge or Plasti Dip. I'm going to give it 2 coats of the school glue, and then I'm going to base coat it in black acrylic paint. Any black acrylic paint will work just fine. Once you're done base coating it, now you're going to hit that with some gold acrylic paint. I use about 3 coats to get it completely opaque, but you can stop at about 2 if you think it's good enough for you. And we're going to add some shadow and dimension to these arm cuffs, just going in between those lines and adding some black acrylic paint with a dry brush. This just makes it look a little more worn and lifelike, not as a piece of foam basically. And here are our 2 arm cuffs. I just hot glued them to seal them shut. Now we're going to make her armbands and her small gold choker. Using some 5mm foam, just cut that into 3 strips, prime them, base coat them, and paint them with some gold acrylic paint like you did the arm cuffs. And I'll just use some elastic to attach the armbands together and some string to hold the small gold choker in place. Now it's time to work on our fabric pieces. Now taking one of my crop tops, I'm just going to trace out the pattern for the shirt. I fold my fabric in half first to do a little trick, and then I go ahead and trace out the one strap that I'll need for Katara's shirt. By doing this, I already have the fold that can reach from the front and the back of the shirt, rather than having to join those pieces together. Once that's traced, then you can go ahead and cut it up. I'm just hand sewing my top because I didn't have the needles to sew this particular fabric. And here's the completed top. I just tied some excess fabric around my waist to get the tie that she has. Now it's time to do the top layer of her skirt. I'm tracing up the pattern onto some fabric that I put around my waist to get the exact measurement for how I wanted it to fit. And I divided that into 3 equal parts. Now I'm doing one with a point, and then the other 2 I'm going to do a bit more rounded to go with the shape of her design, and I cut that out. This fabric is a bit stiffer than the first one I used as opposed to the jersey material. Once that's done, you should have something that looks like these 3 panels. Now taking some dark brown fabric, I'm going to cut out 9 2-inch pieces of fabric and 1 4-inch piece of fabric. These are going to be used for trimmings. And I'm going to fold them in half and hot glue the edges together. This will help with fraying, and it will also give it a cleaner finish as opposed to using a sewing machine. But if you do have a sewing machine that you can use, you can go ahead and do that. Once all the trimmings are glued together, all your fuzzy bits are cut off, you can go ahead and glue them right onto the patterns that we traced out earlier on the burgundy fabric. I like to put the rougher edge on the inside and have the folded edge on the outside. And you're going to do this for all 3 of your patterns. If you guys are enjoying today's video thus far, please leave me a like or comment and let me know. Do you plan to cosplay as Katara anytime soon? Are you hoping that conventions come back so that you can dress up in cosplay again? I know I am. I'm saving Katara probably for AnimeCon next year. That is our local convention, but I hope to do some traveling in the future. Now it's time to work on her underskirt. I'm taking some red jersey material from before, and I'm just wrapping that around my waist to get how I want it to sit, and then cut that in half because her skirt had a split. Now pin up the sides. You're not going to pin this all the way down, just as far down as you want the split to go, and I'm going to hand sew that. Again, if you have a machine, you can use your machine here. Now you're going to hot glue on your trimming of fabric. This would be the 4-inch piece that you folded into a 2-inch, and you're going to put that on the front and back panels. And here's how your skirt should be looking. You have your top skirt and then the bottom underskirt. Considering we didn't use a machine for this, it looks pretty good. And I used some Velcro and an extra piece of brown fabric to attach my top skirt. Now it's time to make her pants. I'm just using an old pair of pants that I had. I cut the bottoms of them, and now it's perfect length. All we have to do is change the color. I'm using some acrylic paints. I'm going to make a light wash, and I'm basically going to dunk the pants into the wash. It didn't come out as expected. The color was not clear throughout, but it will do. Now it's time for makeup. Here's me being a bit overexcited. I'm gonna start off with my brows, just filling them in like I usually do. I'm using a dark brown pencil here. Now it's time to feather out the top of the brows, and I'm gonna conceal them. I'm also gonna conceal my lids and prep for eyeshadow. I'm going in with a lighter eyeshadow on my brow bone, just blending that all out. And then I'm going in with a burgundy transition color today. I know, something a bit new. And I'm popping that right underneath my brow bone and blending that out as well. What's not new is my BH Cosmetics palette. I'm gonna do a darker lid, and I'm just gonna smoke that out as well. This look basically consists of 3 colors, so it's very simple. I'm gonna tight line my eyes, and I'm keeping Katara's look a bit more neutral, nothing too extravagant. And you're gonna apply some liquid liner where you tight lined and prep your face for foundation. Since my foundation routine has not changed, I will just zip through this. So I'm just applying my Revlon Color Stay, and now I'm gonna apply some highlight to brighten my face up a bit. I'm applying that under my eyes, down the bridge of my nose, by my mouth and my chin. And I'm blending all that out with a damp beauty blender. And I'm using my Sacha Buttercup setting powder to set everything. And I'm baking a bit today because this is also for a photo shoot. Now it's time to contour using my favorite palette. I'm just gonna go along my cheekbone, my jawline, the bridge of my nose, and I'm gonna add a bit of blush, which I tend to pull from my Violet Voss palette. And I'm also gonna highlight, and I'm popping a bit of that highlight right on my inner corner, not too much. And I'm gonna line my waterline with a black pencil, and I'm gonna set my entire face using some setting. Now it's time for lips. I'm gonna keep her lips neutral, so I'm just gonna line my lips with a brown pencil. Use a nude lipstick. This was still not nude enough for me, so I added a bit more pink, and then I'm gonna lighten that with some light eyeshadow that I used earlier. Now I'll secure my wig with some eyelash glue. I find I don't really need anything with too much of a hold, so I tend to use eyelash glue for stuff like this. Once my wig is secured, my hair accessories are in, now the look is complete. If you enjoyed today's video, don't forget to leave me a like and subscribe. Thanks for watching, guys.